The stars above Earth shimmered with unusual precision, as if holding their breath. Then the void shifted. A Zorak dreadnought, 4 kilometers long and bristling with gunmetal plates, emerged from hyperspace directly above Earth's equator. Its arrival fractured satellite orbits and silenced long-range communications in seconds. Civilian networks flickered. All screens, from orbit to the deepest bunkers on Terra, went black, and then burned red with the symbol of the Galactic Council. A voice followed. Cold. Measured. Utterly alien. People of Earth. I am Archlord Vel Zoran, High Executor of the Zorak Dominion. By decree of the Galactic Council, you are hereby ordered to submit. You will dismantle your war fleets, surrender your leadership, and open your worlds to compliance. You have 12 hours. Resistance will be met with extinction. No negotiation. No appeal. On the orbital command station Aegis 1, Admiral Kalen Drax stood motionless, arms clasped behind his back, eyes fixed on the holographic projection of the dreadnought. Behind him, silence. Dozens of officers waited for his word. Mute it, Drax said quietly. The alien voice vanished. He turned to his command staff, each watching him for direction, but there was no confusion in their eyes. They had trained for this moment. The war no one wanted, but all expected, had arrived. Drax stepped forward and addressed them, voice calm, sharp as steel. They came expecting fear. Let's not disappoint them by flinching. A murmur of grim approval rippled through the room. 12 hours passed faster than anyone liked. On Earth, the Terran assembly convened in Geneva, deep beneath layers of hardened defense grids. Representatives from Mars, Luna, Titan, and Europa joined remotely. Some urged a delay, a gesture, even a token negotiation. Drax didn't flinch. This isn't about diplomacy. It never was. He called up the Zorak's attack patterns from previous campaigns. Systems that resisted were turned to ash, their populations vitrified. The Dominion didn't bluff. It exterminated. Begging won't buy us time, he said. It buys them confidence. The assembly went quiet. Then they authorized the only response Earth would ever send. Back aboard Aegis 1, Drax recorded a message. The words were few. The tone? Surgical. To Archlord Vel Zoran. Terra does not kneel. Come and try. It was transmitted across all known channels. Within minutes, it was echoing in every corner of the galaxy. The Dominion had its answer. Hours later, Zoran's flagship hovered in high orbit above Mars. Its companion fleet of 80 warships arrayed behind it like a blade ready to strike. Inside the Zorak command deck, a room of obsidian metal and pulsating green light, Zoran's eyes narrowed at the human transmission. Come and try, he repeated mockingly. How quaint. His advisors exchanged glances, cautious. One of them, a scaled diplomat from the Eller caste, cleared his throat. Archlord, perhaps we should. Enough. Zoran's voice cracked like a whip. Begin Phase 1. Burn the Martian colonies. Let them watch their outer worlds die first. On Mars, the sky turned black. But the attack didn't go as planned. As the first Zorak cruisers descended through the atmosphere, Mars's defense grid activated with brutal precision. Massive railguns hidden beneath dust-crusted ridgelines fired kinetic rods that tore through Zorak shielding. Stealth ships, invisible to standard scans, emerged from asteroid shadows and released swarms of AI-guided missiles. The Vanguard fleet never reached the surface. From his war room aboard Aegis 1, Drax monitored the battle in silence. They thought we were sleeping, he murmured. A new projection materialized beside him, a map of the Alpha Centauri system. More Zorak vessels were mobilizing. Valkyrie, the ship's AI, chimed in with flawless neutrality. Predictive models suggest Earth has 72 hours before a full-scale invasion. Recommend strategic escalation. Not yet, Drax replied. We let them feel the sting first. Meanwhile, panic swept through the Galactic Council. On the neutral world of Zeroth Prime, ambassadors from dozens of species gathered in the central chamber, news of Mars's defense already causing unease. They downed 15 cruisers in minutes? Hissed a Jalari diplomat. That's not defense. That's escalation. Another, from the soft-bodied Tasari, spoke with trembling tones. Perhaps the humans should be heard. A Zorak envoy slammed a clawed hand on the table. Their defiance is criminal. No species rejects the Council's will. Yet behind the bluster, fear bloomed. Humanity's tech was far beyond what the Council had catalogued. Their ships were lean fast. Their AI, refined in secret. And worst of all, their people fought not for conquest, but survival. That made them unpredictable. Back on Earth, civilian evacuations began across the Martian and lunar colonies. Families filed into underground vaults while orbital transports fled to deep space. Drax stood alone in his observation chamber, watching the stars beyond the thick panes of transparent alloy. His reflection stared back at him, tall, scarred, hardened by 20 years of service. He remembered Mars when it was a broken desert. He had grown up there, in the shadows of war-scorched domes, surrounded by hunger and dust. He had sworn Earth would never again beg for mercy from those who thought themselves gods. His earpiece buzzed. "Sir?" a lieutenant said. "Zorak fleet confirmed entering Alpha Centauri space." Drax didn't turn. "Good. Let them come closer." In the dark between stars, Earth prepared. The first cruiser burned without a sound. It broke apart above Mars's exosphere, torn down by a rail cannon slug traveling at Mach 50. The blast didn't echo, there was no air for sound, but every Terran screen lit up with the kill. Then came the second. A Terran stealth frigate, Spectre 9, blinked into visible range just long enough to launch 6 gravitic mines. The devices clung to the underbellies of Zorak destroyers like barnacles, then detonated with a silent pulse that imploded their reactor cores. Dozens of alien ships fractured into glowing debris. In orbit above, the Dominion's battle formations collapsed into confusion. Their ships were heavier, more numerous, but the humans were everywhere and nowhere. For every Terran ship visible, 2 more moved cloaked through asteroid shadows, cutting deep. On board the Zorak flagship Devourer, Archlord Vel Zoran watched the slaughter unfold. "Status," he snapped. His war technician, a pale-eyed officer with twitching mandibles, hesitated. "We've lost 32 vessels in the last hour. They're using some form of predictive targeting." "Don't explain why, explain how to stop it." The technician swallowed his fear. "We don't know yet." Zoran's claws gripped the console hard enough to dent alloy. Earth had been preparing for this war for years. They just hadn't said it out loud. In a hidden facility under the surface of Phobos, the AI command core known as Valkyrie ran models across trillions of outcomes. It monitored Zorak formations, predicted target vectors, and rerouted Terran vessels before threats even materialized. Every decision Admiral Kalen Drax made was sharpened by Valkyrie's foresight, but none were made for him. He paced the command deck of Aegis 1, watching kill reports stream in. Not celebrating. Measuring. "How long before they regroup?" he asked. "Based on current patterns," Valkyrie replied. "Their central command will pivot in 14.3 minutes. A strategic withdrawal is likely." Drax shook his head. "They're too arrogant to retreat this early. Zoran's not here to test us. He's here to humiliate us." He pointed to a cluster of enemy ships repositioning near Mars's polar orbit. "They're setting up for a saturation bombardment. Civilians first. Same tactic they used on Varlon 6. Shall I authorize retaliatory protocols?" Valkyrie asked. "No. Not yet. We hold them off, and we make sure everyone's watching." And they were watching. On Zeroth Prime, the Galactic Council chambers had devolved into a storm of conflicting opinions. The Jalari ambassador, eyes flickering in distress, shouted across the forum. "They downed a third of a Zorak fleet in hours. This isn't defiance, it's warfare." Ambassador Korith of the Kalari leaned forward, voice calm but resolute. "Perhaps it's time we acknowledge the truth. The humans are not a rogue state. They are an empire now, and they deserve a seat here." "Blasphemy!" A Zorak loyalist roared. They murdered Council ships. They defended their own system, Korath countered. As would any of us. The divide widened. Some demanded more fleets. Others feared escalation. A few watched the news feeds and saw something else. Humanity didn't just fight back. They fought smart. With discipline. With precision. With restraint. By the time the Zorak armada moved to Alpha Centauri, the Dominion was rattled. Yet Zoran pressed on. He launched a fresh fleet, 80 cruisers, 3 dreadnoughts, and a vanguard of drone killers, AI-driven vessels designed to overwhelm defenses. Terran sensors picked them up near Proxima. Drax reviewed the data in silence, then turned to his fleet captains. "We'll meet them at the Centauri barrier," he said. "Prepare the ambush grid." Within 6 hours, Terran vessels deployed into the asteroid fields flanking the hyperlane exit. They laced the rocks with magnetized traps, mirror drones, and proximity-based plasma charges. Gravity well generators deployed, invisible to Zorak scans, designed to yank ships off course mid-jump. When the Dominion fleet exited hyperspace, they were immediately pulled into chaos. Ships collided. Navigation broke. In the split-second confusion, the first Terran salvo hit. Captain Raina Malik of the TNV Hammerfall led the charge. She was young for command, but like most in the Terran fleet, she had earned every stripe. "Fire control, full spread," she ordered. "Paint targets, don't wait for lock." Her gunners launched a coordinated barrage, rail slugs and gravitic shells, that pierced through disoriented Zorak hulls. Explosions painted space with molten debris. "Push forward. Keep them guessing," Malik said, standing unflinching even as her ship took glancing hits. Zorak vessels returned fire, but the humans kept moving, coordinated in real time by Valkyrie's wide net uplinks. Every maneuver calculated. Every counter anticipated. By the end of the engagement, the Zorak had lost another 40% of their strike group. And they still hadn't touched a single Terran civilian colony. Back aboard the Devourer, Zoran finally saw it, not just military resistance, but strategic dominance. The humans weren't fighting from desperation. They were fighting with confidence. And worse, the galaxy was watching. In frustration, he slammed his fist against the tactical console. "Enough containment. Begin planetary bombardment." "But," his tactician hesitated, "there are civilians. Then they'll learn the price of rebellion." On the Centauri colony New Horizons, the ground trembled. Zorak bombardment vessels opened fire from orbit, unleashing kinetic spears designed to pulverize cities. But Terran defense grids activated instantly. Atmospheric disruptors shattered the projectiles mid-descent. Still, one slipped through, striking the outer dome of Habitat 3. Dozens dead. Hundreds injured. Civilians cried out over emergency channels. From orbit, Admiral Drax watched it unfold. He closed his eyes, jaw clenched. Then he moved. "Prep Valkyrie 1. I'm going down." The Terran carrier Seraphim pierced orbit like a blade of light. Dropships deployed rapidly, descending in tight formations toward Habitat 3. Drax led the first wave personally, his armored drop pods slamming into the ruined colony square. He emerged from the smoking wreck, rifle in hand, directing medical units and shield barriers into place. Reporters captured the scene, the supreme commander of the Terran Empire dragging a child from a collapsed dome, blood on his face, shouting orders through smoke and flame. Across the galaxy, the footage went viral within hours. The message was clear: while the Zorak bombed civilians, humanity protected them, even in war. By the time the Terran fleet regrouped above the colony, Zoran's forces were gone, retreating back into Council space to lick their wounds. But the damage had been done, not to Earth, but to the Zorak's image. Across dozens of systems, alien worlds whispered a new possibility. The humans fight not for conquest, but for something more. The enemy came in silence. Not stealth, arrogance. 3 Zorak armadas approached from different vectors, cutting through hyperspace like blades. one from the galactic north, another from the fringe of Vossian space, and the third, the largest, from the dying red star of Varnak. Their target, Earth. Inside Aegis 1, Earth's primary orbital defense command, Admiral Kalen Drax studied the trajectories. The room around him was tense, but focused. Officers moved with mechanical precision. Valkyrie, the war AI, spoke without emotion. Projection confirms full Dominion commitment. 267 warships, 9 dreadnoughts. Arrival at Saturn orbit in 19 hours. Drax didn't flinch. Analyze? Free World's fleet will arrive 6 hours after the first wave. Reinforcements are limited. Which meant Earth would stand alone, at least at the beginning. Zoran had chosen this strategy for symbolism. Crushing Earth, the heart of Terran resistance, in full view of the galaxy would erase the sting of earlier defeats. His plan was simple: overwhelm. Annihilate. Broadcast dominance. He underestimated them again. As Saturn loomed into view, the Zorak fleets formed a tri-point attack formation. Their dreadnoughts split orbital positions, covering approach vectors with layered plasma batteries. Thousands of automated drones scattered ahead, designed to draw fire and map Terran response patterns. Instead, they vanished. Blackout. Earth's defense grid jammed every signal. The moment the first drone reached Saturn's upper orbit, it was shredded by an invisible mesh of kinetic nets and gravitic pulses. The others followed, extinguished like sparks in a storm. Then Earth spoke. Across every open frequency, a single voice echoed, calm, unshaken. You wanted a war, Archlord. This is one. The battle began in layers. From the depths of Jupiter's orbit, Terran gun platforms came online, solar-fed, shielded, and buried within ice crusts. Beams of condensed light, drawn from solar mirrors, struck with precision, slicing through Zorak cruisers like scalpels. Further out, a cluster of Terran warships emerged from behind Callisto, their drives cold until ignition. Hammerfall, Revenant, Seraphim. Each crew knew this might be their last flight, but none hesitated. In the chaos, Drax's flagship, Vigilant Dawn, led the main counteroffensive. Target that rear dreadnought, Drax ordered. Flank with disruptors. No full burst, surgical cuts only. Valkyrie responded instantly. Trajectory locked. Weapons hot. The strike was brutal and clean. A stream of magnetized slugs hit the Zorak vessel's propulsion spine, sending the dreadnought spiraling, its escorts colliding in the confusion. Debris rained across Saturn's rings like hail. Still, the Dominion pressed forward. Missiles screamed through the black. Plasma waves surged toward Earth's orbital line. A Terran frigate took a direct hit and split in half, its crew choosing detonation rather than capture. There was no time to mourn. As Terran forces thinned under the relentless push, Drax made his move. Activate Aegis Protocol. Below, deep within Earth's moon, hidden systems activated. A forgotten relic, Project Singularity, roared to life. A weapon humanity had never used. A gravity well cannon. It fired once. And the war changed. The blast warped space itself, creating a localized fold that snapped the Zorak front formation in two. 3 enemy cruisers collapsed in on themselves, crushed into silence. Even Valkyrie paused for 0.002 seconds before speaking. Effect confirmed. Recommend cooldown for system stability. Drax exhaled. 1 shot's all we needed. But Earth was bleeding. Even with Valkyrie's calculations and superior coordination, numbers had weight. The Dominion kept pushing. Zoran watched from orbit aboard Devourer 2, the twin of his first flagship. He leaned forward, eyes wide as the Earth's fleet adapted with every strike. They're losing, his second-in-command said. Zoran shook his head. No. They're evolving. Again. He clenched his fist. Destroy their command ship. Cripple their admiral. Break their spine. The Zorak dreadnoughts adjusted course, all targeting Vigilant Dawn. Inside the command deck, alarms screamed. The shields were breaking. Auxiliary systems failed one by one. We're exposed, a lieutenant shouted. Drax didn't panic. Divert all power to forward armor. Prep emergency launch for the command core. We're abandoning ship? No, Drax said. We're giving Earth time. He turned to Valkyrie. Split core AI functions. Transfer redundancy to Seraphim. I'll hold them here. The AI hesitated. This course significantly increases your mortality probability. Drax smirked. Wouldn't be the first time. As the Zorak fired, Vigilant Dawn took the hit, a full plasma beam through its hull. The ship cracked open, bleeding fire into vacuum. But the sacrifice bought minutes. And minutes were all they needed. At the edge of the battlefield, hyperspace tore open. The Free Worlds Alliance had arrived. Alien ships, once fractured, hesitant, now moved under a single banner. Kilari needle frigates. Kethari heavy bombers. Even a stolen Zorak dreadnought flown by rebel defectors. They fell on the Dominion like wolves. Zoran's forces, already thinned and overextended, panicked. Their formation broke. From Seraphim, Valkyrie redirected Earth's remaining fleet, weaving together Terran survivors and alien allies into a counteroffensive. The tide turned. Zoran tried to retreat. He issued an emergency jump order. His ship's hyperdrives began charging. But the Kethari had planned for this. A team of saboteurs, smuggled aboard weeks ago, detonated a breach charge near the core reactor. The ship lurched. Hyperdrives failed. Before he could issue a command, boarding pods struck the hull. Seconds later, Kethari warriors stormed the bridge. Zoran reached for his sidearm, but too late. He was taken alive. The war ended not with Earth's destruction, but with Zoran in chains, and the Dominion humiliated. The footage of his capture, his snarling face, his broken pride, spread faster than any ultimatum ever had. The Galactic Council fractured within days. Half the members declared neutrality. A third resigned. The rest begged for talks. Earth didn't ask for vengeance. Instead, it offered terms. Weeks later, on neutral ground above Zeroth Prime, Admiral Drax, bandaged but standing, addressed the Interstellar Assembly. He wore no medals. No ceremonial cloak. Just the uniform of a man who had fought for something more than survival. We did not win this war because we were stronger, he said. We won because we refused to surrender. To fear. To silence. We chose freedom, and we chose it together. He looked at the alien leaders across from him. If Earth stands today, it's not because we crushed our enemies. It's because we inspired our allies. No one spoke against him. Far above, in orbit over Terra, the stars were quiet again. But this time, they did not hold their breath. They watched. And they remembered.